In this Maya hard surface modeling tutorial, I'm going to show you a killer strategy on getting details easily on curved surfaces without any pinching. If you've been around the block with hard surface modeling within Maya, you know that pinching on curved surfaces is a very common problem. I'll be showing you a killer strategy on how to start your project by modeling all the details on a simple plane. And then towards the end of the video, I'll be showing you a little known Maya deformer to actually give it its final shape. All that plus some bonus tips in the video coming up. What's going on, you 3D modeling beasts? This is Mussi, and welcome to another Maya hard surface modeling tutorial. So my man Backheat, hopefully I'm saying his name right, was struggling getting details on a curved surface, and I think we all have been there, where we actually go in there and not really have the right edge flow or the right number of divisions going into that can really just make modeling details on a curved surface somewhat of a nightmare. So I told my man, don't even worry about it. I got your back, and I'm gonna help you out, and we're gonna knock out this mouse, and I'm gonna show you and you guys at home how to actually create really any detail on a curved surface with this killer strategy. Before we get started, make sure to smash the like button. It really helps the channel out. I have great news about my Maya hard surface modeling course. I'm currently offering a free trial. So if you're interested in that, I'm gonna go ahead and drop the link down below. That way you can check out the course absolutely for free. And if you haven't done so already, make sure that you join our Facebook community, our 3D modeling beast group. This is a place where I actually take a lot of these requests or a lot of these videos that you are seeing. That's where I get the ideas from, is from members that actually share their posts within the group. So without further ado, let's get started. One side note is most of my tools are hotkeyed, so I will call them out. If you don't know how to get to that tool, I will have a call out card at the bottom of the video. That way you could access that tool via the menus if you never have. So right here, I have my image plane set up. First thing that I'll do with image planes, what I like doing is bringing up the channel box here and throwing it into a different layer, and then just set it to a reference. That way I cannot select it on the viewport, but I can select it here via the outliner right here. All right, so that's a nifty little feature. One thing you'll note is that I'm gonna start here with this lower res plane, and to actually get all this detail that I need on a curved surface, I will need to actually have something that's pretty much this density. What I'm actually going to do though is worry about shaping pretty much this perimeter. I'll probably do something in symmetry, mirror it over, and then take care of the asymmetry right here. But I'm not going to concentrate too much on the shape. The main point of this tutorial is going to be how to carve in kind of this pattern here. Once I establish this shape on this lower res, I will apply a smooth, and we'll get a resolution like this, which is going to be better suited to reduce pinching on a curved surface. So I'm going to start with the multicut. So I'm going to take that right about here, and I'm going to use this line here, somewhat of a symmetry line. So before I do anything, I'm going to just select that edge that I just pretty much carved. I'll go ahead and detach these components. And anytime that you're detaching, in order to delete, you want to make sure that the cut is all the way through. I have border edges turned on in the preferences. Right now, I pretty much cut out this island here. One thing you'll note is if you double click, basically there's a leak somewhere in that cut. So what you can do, sometimes this could be frustrating, especially if visually we see that border edge, right? And we kind of missed it there, so I know what it is. But let's just say you were here. What you could do to test that leak pretty much in that cut is you could start growing your selection, and you'll see pretty much right here is the leak, right? So if you didn't know, if you're ever trying to basically figure out what's not cut all the way through, you could always do a grow selection, and that'll kind of expose the area. So I know the leak is happening right here. So what I can do is just kind of delete that area. And now I can just double click here and delete this. So I'll quickly shape this. And I'm just going to collapse some of these verts by merging them down like so. So any of these right here that are pretty close together, I just start cleaning some of this up right away. But I'm not overly concerned about perfect edge flow at this point. I'm just trying to establish this shape. What I'm going to do is start pretty much rounding this off like this. And I'm going to take it this way like so. And now I can go ahead and meet up with this guy right here. So that's going to quad out here. We'll go ahead and move this over. So now we have this edge. Take these, delete these, and then just space that out a little bit better. Move that over. And then here, we can route it this way. So again, I'm pretty much just routing this one towards that corner. And I'm definitely going to have to space these out a little bit better. I don't want them this close, especially on a curved surface. So let me go ahead and take care of this now. One thing you could do is enable edge slide. And you see that now I'm able to slide these verts here. And I'm pretty much just keeping, or I'm sliding along this edge. And you always want to, anytime that you add geometry, you just want to make sure things are nice and spaced out. So what I'm going to do at this point is take this edge here. We'll go ahead and detach it again. And we'll just double click this, delete this. I'll go to my brush tools here. Sculpting tools. And I'm going to use the grab tool, which is a nifty little tool for stuff like this. Now, when I'm using this, since I had a nice grid to start with, I'm not going to go crazy, right? I'm just trying to really push left and right. And I like this at points, you know, instead of just using the move tool with the verts or even using, you know, soft select. I feel like I have more control with this brush. So the cool thing about this brush as well is if you hold down shift, the relax functionality is built into that, which is, you know, pretty cool. Now, I'm not going to go overboard with that because it can give me kind of some wonky spacing. So I kind of like the spacing that I had, but it is just a nice little feature to have. For mirroring, I do like to use Malcom's Mega Pack here. You can use the standard shift right click mirror, right? You could do that as well. But this is just a handy little menu that, in my opinion, makes it a little bit easier. I want to flip this in the object X, and there we go. Right? So I don't have to jump down through menus. It's just a little bit quicker than going through the default Maya menus. One thing that I will do before I do that is I'll take this border edge, and then I'll just scale flat. I can take off slide. And now I can go ahead and just take this and do mirror object X. And I want to make sure that I have the merge function on. All right, from this point, I'll just go ahead and quickly add the asymmetry. So I'll go to mesh tools again, sculpting tools, and I'll go to the grab tool. I'll bring this up quite a bit and just start placing this a little bit closer to the shape that I want. So this looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and manually take care of this corner and actually just clean it up before we move to the next step. So I'm just going to basically collapse these verts or just merge them like this. And then I can take these verts again, merge them, and now we have kind of that nice sharp corner. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to the next phase, which is going to be pretty much carving in that detail. Remember in the beginning, I said that I wanted to basically get closer to this because we're going to need more divisions to actually support that shape in the curved surface. So before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and just basically go here and take another pass of just basically spacing this out a little bit better, because once we add more topology, it's going to double our workload. And before I actually smooth this, I want to take this edge here. I'm going to scale this flat, and this is going to be pretty much lining up here. And then from this point, I think I'm ready to add this, basically a level 1 smooth to this. So we'll take this, we'll go to mesh, and we'll go ahead and drop this smooth here. And I just want to make sure this is a level 1. And then you see that we're closer to this topology here. And the reason I did that is because it was easier to shape this basically on that low res, add the smooth before moving on to the next phase. From here, what I'm going to do is basically start with the multicut and basically trace this. And I don't have to be super precise here, but I will try to get pretty much just the overall shape of this. And if you want to go back and make sure your edges are perfectly straight, you could always go in here, take them, scale them flat. All right, so now we kind of have this perimeter, and we want to start thinking about, how these corners are going to be reinforced. After I have this initial cut, what I want to do is condense some of this, right, or clean some of this up. Do a first round of cleanup. I'm not going to be too obsessed with the edge flow. So from this point, I want to go ahead and start quadding some of this out, if possible. I will have to do a little bit of edge flow work, but there's a step here that's going to take me in the right direction. The other thing to keep in mind, this is an image, not a blueprint. So most likely this is flat, but since you're actually looking at a bent object or something with curvature, that's why it looks like it's kind of flaring out this way. I'll leave this line straight like I initially had it. I want to go ahead and give me a little bit of topology here to help me kind of section this off. We did a little bit of cleanup work, and now we can come in here and basically just select this perimeter here, and we can do a bevel, right? I'm going to go pretty wide on this. You'll see why in a second, and I'm actually going to overshoot this. What this bevel is going to be doing is actually give me some supporting geometry, right, around here. And then from here, we can add one division, right? And then from this point, we could just take this, rebevel that, and that's going to be pretty much that little panel line there. Right, so we did initial bevel, get that edge flow going, and then we added a division, we took that bevel, and then we basically beveled that middle edge just to give us that panel line. Let's go ahead and kind of space some of this out. And we can start going into sub-D mode and seeing how, this actually starts to bend. I'm not going to obsess over this as far as getting it exactly like the reference, but what I will do is actually space some of this out. So I'll go ahead and do my edge slide. Then we can take these guys. If you want to move them down, we can hit D, hold down Control, orient on this edge. And now if we take slide off, we can go ahead and pull down this way, kind of start that rounding process. So these are actually holding up pretty well when I hit 3. Let's go ahead and move down and see how these hold up. So for for this sharper edge, we're going to need a little bit more divisions, right? Just to really hold this up. So what I'm going to do is take this guy like this. I'll go ahead and bevel it. And then I'll go ahead and add another division to that bevel, right? So now if we go to 3 mode, you see this, how this edge is holding up, right? We'll clean that up in a second. because we're not going to want to leave it like that, but this is a step in the right direction. With these two divisions here, or these two edges, this is probably going to be good enough. And I think what I want to do here is add another loop just to help compress this. Right now, we see that we're losing a little bit of this volume. So what I'll do is I'll just take the Multicut tool, control middle mouse click, and add an edge right there. We could always go in here if we want to strain this out. And with edge slide enabled, we could just scale flat and then kind of move this down and then move this down as well. And that's kind of the nice thing about edge, right? Which is right here. See this transform constraint? That's where it's at. But it's just a nice little feature because, you know, once you have kind of this shape established, you know, if we're pushing up and down, it's going to basically jack this up. So what I'm going to do here is actually move these, but I don't want to randomly move them. And edge slide, it'll actually get kind of wonky here. So I'll hit D, orient to this edge, and now I'm going to take slide off. You see that I'm getting a better movement with pretty much these guys here. Now, one thing, just like before, we're going to need another edge just to preserve this. So same thing is multi-cut, drop it, do control middle mouse, and then take this guy here. And that's being held up a little bit better. And what we can do is, since we have this extra loop here, we could actually use it to our advantage. I think I'm going to drop that right in the middle, and that's going to be held up even better, right? And now we pretty much have these guys that we could connect. So this is looking pretty good. The shape is being held up like I wanted. Let me go ahead and reinforce this edge here. This is going to be a sharp corner. So what I can do is take this again, bevel it, see how it looks, right? And if I need more, I could always go in here and add an extra division, right? And now with those three bevels there, or those three edges, that's going to be held up rather nicely. So now that I basically reinforced all the edges and everything looks okay, I need to go ahead and do a final round of cleanup. Let me go ahead and take X-ray off. And I'm going to start basically just make sure everything's nice and quadded and routed properly. Now, one thing that I like to do is actually feather these. So you're going to want to support here in the corner, but you're not going to want these guys too close, right? Because once this pretty much gets into place as a curved surface, this proximity to these edges, it might actually cause pinching. So you want to try your hardest to actually just kind of feather these out from this corner point here. So this is going to lend itself better to not basically giving you any issues when it comes to pinching. So same thing here. We're going to want to feather these. So what I'll do here is just add another division with the multi-cut right in the middle. We can do a spot weld there, like that. And then what I'm going to do here is just control middle mouse click with the multi-cut. It's going to drop a loop right there in the middle. So I'll go ahead and select this range here. I'll go ahead and double click my move tool, and you could enable soft select. And that's just going to give me a nice little feathering effect there. And it's going to kind of scoot this edge along. So it's just going to do some of that spacing work automatically for me. I'll just go ahead and enable soft select off. And now that I have that topology added, I can go in with the multi-cut and just finish this out. And there we go. And you could even go in here and actually just feather these out. So you guys pretty much get the drift now of just going through here, right? And adding supporting edges on these corners, feathering them out, and then pretty much doing any reroute, whether I'm adding more topology here to be able to connect these basically supporting edges, or just doing some edge flow work. So I'll go ahead and fast forward here, and I'll clean up the rest of these corners. And here what I'm doing is actually collapsing this. I'm going to delete that edge there. This is going to quad out here, and this should hold up fine. So I'm pretty much always thinking about my spacing and knowing that this is going to be a curved surface. I try to have things pretty even. I think what I'm going to do here is kind of use this to my advantage. So I'm going to take that edge here. I think I can pull this off by going in here, deleting this. Just kind of get that original spacing back. And then I'll make this guy the pole. Right? So with the pole here, I should be able to take this inside edge and then connect it like this. And that quads out. So now, as usual, I added topology, so I'm just going to go ahead and make sure it's spaced out properly. Right, and really I did this reroute because I didn't really want to kill this edge here, right? This will give me a long span without topology, and that would affect my shape once I actually bend this plane into place. So here's an opportunity to work on our spacing. I'll go ahead and enable edge slide and just kind of nudge this down a little bit. I could always deselect this guy here like so. Same thing here. Work on the spacing. And all this work ahead of time is just going to make sure that we really don't have any pinching. I did forget to add this guy here, which is not a big deal. I'll go in here and simply bevel this like so, just to get that slit here for the mouse. So now I'll go ahead and select all these edges here like so. We'll clean this up in a second, but I'll simply delete this. Now we can hit 3 again, see everything's holding up fine. And then I can just take these guys here and just merge them down like this. So from this point, it's time to actually deform this into place. So I'll go ahead and take this shape here. And actually, I'll take both of these. Hold down Shift just to clone it. Middle mouse out of that group. And now we can hide this here. Take these guys and pretty much just put this into place. And I'm pretty much just going to use that shape that he had. There's no point in me actually redoing this. Now, the key here for this to work properly is that this bottom shape pretty much encompasses this whole shape that's on top, right? Or that whole grid. So I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger, right? So we'll take this grid here. We'll go ahead and elevate. Now, one thing that we're going to do with this deformer is that we're actually going to need more topology here. So I'll go ahead and do a mesh, and we'll go ahead and smoothen. I'm basically trying to almost match the topology here, right? So I'll go to mesh, smooth, and we're going to need about, I'll go ahead and knock this down to 3, because having more is not going to hurt us, but having less will, right? And this might make sense, a little bit more sense in a second. So now from here, we'll go ahead and take this, right? So we're going to actually use a shrink wrap deformer that's going to project this shape onto this. So we're going to take the shape here, and then we're going to shift click the shape that we actually wanted to adopt this shape, right? And then from there, we'll go to deform, shrink wrap, options. And if we reset the tool, it's going to be towards inner object. We want vertex normals. From there, we'll go ahead and go to create, and there it is, right? So we see that got projected, right? And that actually looks pretty good. What we want to go ahead and take into consideration is that if you delete the history, we're going to lose this shape, right? So if we go in here, delete this, this is going to snap back, right? We don't want that. So in order to bake those changes in, we'll simply have to go in here and select both meshes, edit, delete by type, and we'll delete the history. And now we can go in here and just pretty much just get rid of this, right? And there is our mouse, give or take, right? So from this point, we can go in here. I'll just hide this for the time being. select this, go into 3 mode. And what I'll go ahead and do is take this here, get my move tool, and slide tool will kind of affect that. So I'll go ahead and just take slide off. I can hold down shift now to extrude. You see that as we get some thickness there, right? We're gonna have basically to add some holding edges here, but that's pretty expected. We could also go in here and just to knock this out flat, we can, pretty much just scale flat like this, right? Just to kind of mimic that shape. Also go ahead and grab these border edges here. Hold down shift, just kind of extrude down. And then what you can do is with the insert edge loop tool, just, go from this ridge right here, this little gap, and just add some holding edges. And that's gonna reinforce that. And then we need to reinforce this corner here, like so. And same as before, kind of forgot to do this guy here like this. So we'll give it the same treatment. Weld that there. Delete that. That should still hold. Maybe I'll just add a holding edge there like this. So, all right, moment of truth. We'll go ahead and give it something nice and reflective. That way our any pinching will be exposed via the blend and the high specularity. Make sure that I'll hit 3 and then I'll take off the wireframe. See what we got. So I think that looks pretty good, right? So let me go ahead and pull up what he had previously, what he sent me. And looks like I actually deleted the original here. I want to see them side by side. So I'll go back to the original he sent me. And I'm actually using these awesome scripts by Malcom. I'll go ahead and put the link down in the description down below. But with Malcom's Mega Pack, he has a script here for export and import. Pretty almost like you would copy and paste onto your Windows or Mac clipboard, right? What I can do here is just select the item that I want to basically import into my scene. And then I'll go ahead and do export. Now it's saved onto the clipboard. I'll switch to the Maya file here, my finished one. And I'll go ahead and click import. And there's the mouse, and it looks like had another piece there selected with it. So now what I can do is just kind of move this into place. So we'll go ahead and take a look at both of these, right? He was having a lot of pinching in areas that he shouldn't have. And that was just really due to the fact that A, he was just too low on resolution. And that's something that a lot of beginners do, including myself, when I started 3D modeling. And then B, he didn't really have the right supporting edges to really just crease those corners up, right? And obviously, areas like this where these angons really don't help, right? So if we go ahead and turn off wireframe, here's what he had, and then this is pretty much what I came up with. And that's the great thing about this workflow is that, you're able to model on a plane, which is a lot easier, and then just pretty much apply the deformer towards the end. And if you pretty much have your topology right, you really don't have to worry about any pinching. That's all the time that I have for you folks. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Maya hard surface modeling tutorial. As always, smash the like button. It really does help out the channel. Subscribe for more Maya hard surface modeling tutorials like this if you haven't done so already. Until we meet again, folks, I will catch you next time.